You had ball in hand. You had ball in hand.
Yeah, I just missed my object ball completely with ball in hand.
It must have been a deflection.
Yeah, I definitely threw the cue ball right out of the everything. I didn't even use the word throw in the proper way there. Jesus. Maybe I don't want to win her that $20,000 matchup you were telling me about.
Mm.
So what's going on with in pool? Is there anything going on?
Pretty dead. Right?
Well, actually, I mean, realistically speaking, it is pretty dead, isn't it? There's really absolutely nothing going on outside of a bunch of hot drama.
Hot drama.
Yep.
Which is always fun. Pancake, welcome to the podcast, little scooter butt.
Thanks, Van. Good.
Give us a little. Who are you? Why are you here?
Why am I here? Well, started playing pool probably. Let's see, it's 24. I started 14 years ago, only because it was another outlet for me to gamble, and I just liked the fact that people wanted to play for less than 10,000, and I got plenty of people who I thought were like kind of my friends. Sorry about that. But turns out they just wanted my money, which I didn't know at first, because being new to the pool scene, you learn a lot of stuff. And I probably was one of the worst pool players to ever pick up a pool cue.
I'm pretty sure the people you are describing right now are trying to get some more action. I think they're calling you trying to get a game.
Yeah, probably.
The ball's swinging off the hook.
Yeah. But I mean, I've been in action for 14 years now, and I've gotten better than what the first go around was. But you learn a lot playing this game and dealing with certain people. But I met a lot of good people, including you two, in the pool world, and I try to surround myself with more of that than the dark side of the pool world, kind of like in Lion King when he tells him to stay out of the dark area, never go there.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. But so I've been doing that. I've done some commentary on some matches. I enjoy the game. I wish I liked practicing more to get a little better, but just being in action alone helps you get better. So, and that's
I like practicing darts. Does that count?
Well, you're a good pool player, Nate. I know you're good. So obviously
I'm retired now.
Oh yeah,
darts.
Oh, darts. How good are you?
So I just went over a 3.0 in cricket. I'm now officially at a 3.09. 01, I'm right between like a 27 and 28. And I just love darts a lot more because I can drink and play darts. I can't even sniff alcohol and play pool. So it's a lot more, I found that life is a lot more enjoyable when you're not sober for it.
Okay.
So darts is much, much better for that.
Gotcha.
It's a good time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, darts and pool kind of go together a little bit.
Yeah, both degenerate sports,
Both.
A little bit. There is a little bit more money in pool.
Both operated and run by Metro.
Right. That's a good segue there, right?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Bringing the guns for a reason,
I like it.
Is there a WDA?
Say again?
Is there a WDA that Matchroom's at war with too?
No, I think they've just cornered that market already. So there's no more infighting. They've won that battle.
Yeah.
No World Dart Association.
Mm-hmm. That's them.
I tell you, it's going to be it seems to be getting worse before it's going to get any better. So.
And I always kind of view these things whenever things are starting to like organize or get into organization. There's going to be like dust ups that happen, and I think they help create clarity and resolution. If they're a negative dust up, then players will probably make adjustments or vie against those things, or organizations will do that because they'll get negative backlash, like some of the stuff that WPA is experienced over the last year or two. And Matchroom's made mistakes as well, and they've gotten feedback from players and all that kind of stuff, and they've had to adjust as well. This recent bat, I think we just heard yesterday that Josh is getting withdrawn again from Mosconi, which probably expected.
Yes. So let me read the statement quick. I obviously we don't really have anything to discuss as far as events. There were no events that really happened in the last week. Nothing of consequence, anyway. So the big news this week was that Matchroom has withdrawn Joshua Filler, and I guess I probably should have had this up and ready to go, but I will read the actual
statement
that they made once I get it pulled up here. You know, this is what you get at the Queued Up podcast. We're ready to go. We are always ready to go. Just kidding.
I'm trying to find the stream on Facebook so I can share it.
You're on 2 fouls, Nate.
I might be on. Oh, here we go. Got it. Oh, I just kicked three rail hit. All right. The WNT has made the difficult decision to withdraw Joshua Filler from the Mosconi Cup. This decision, along with the reasons, have been communicated to Joshua. Joshua will be replaced by David Al-Qaidi, the next highest ranked player. End of statement. So continue on from there, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, David should be sending Christmas gifts, I think, to the Filler household immediately. Yep. It's
bouquets of flowers,
2 big paydays
chocolates.
He's going to cash in on just because of his ranking. Did David disclose what the players earned at the Reyes Cup?
I do not believe that is public knowledge, and I personally do not know. I never heard.
Yeah, but anyhow,
I never looked into it, but I never heard either. So
David's going to be in the position where he's going to get, again, needled a little bit for not having qualified and still getting a spot on the team. But he's used to that. That kind of happened to him a little while ago when Federer was swapped over to the USA. And but he performed well and he's playing well. So it's not like it's exactly, a terrible thing. But I think it's more about losing Josh for Team Europe. I think that's going to expose a lot of stuff. I think Josh is just so great of a player.
Back-to-back MVP so far.
Yeah,
in the last 2 years.
He's just so great of a player, and he thrives well in that scenario that it's actually a cumulative impact to Team Europe, where they don't have the relaxed approach that they get to have because of having the luxury of the number 1 rated player in the world on your team, who just always executes, basically when he's in that spot. And I think we saw what that can do, to the rest of the team in the Reyes Cup. So I think without Josh, you lose a big buoy, like a big stability factor for the team. And now they have to figure out who's going to be the person that's going to bolster and unify and take that pressure off. Because we didn't really see anybody from European side perform really at the Reyes Cup. And I think it's going to expose a lot of stuff for them. And when the pressure goes up, I think Team USA is going to play well. And it's just a matter of whether or not I think Europe has stuff to prove, actually, regardless of past performances. But it's unfortunate for Josh. But I didn't really see there wasn't really enough time between the Reyes Cup and the Mosconi Cup for things to really change. And I'm not sure what those conversations are happening behind the scenes and why. Whether there's pressure happening from Josh's federations and Predator side, how that affects things. It's unfortunate for him because he's obviously a dynamite player and the fans love to see him. But anyways, yeah.
As a side note, I guess I just realized that there's been back-to-back 2-time MVPs that will be ended.
What do you mean?
Sky Woodward got MVP in 2018, 2019. I'm pretty sure that Jason Shaw got 2020 and 2021, and now Josh has gotten 2022 and 2023. So 3 back-to-back.
I don't know.
It won't be.
I think Josh not being on Team Europe puts a lot of pressure on Jason and the rest of the team to figure stuff out.
Yeah. Sean, do you have a set of headphones by chance? We're just getting like some of the feedback.
No, I don't.
Is your volume, is it like reflecting off something?
Could be. I can lower my volume.
Sounds fine on my end.
Turn your no, we're just getting like a little bit of feedback. You're hearing like the little feedback.
Okay.
Is that better?
It's fine.
We'll find out. I mean, I guess Josh has always been that player that, like, the U.S. historically has actually jumped out pretty quickly, even when they were kind of getting their butts kicked. They kind of jump out pretty quickly. They get the team events usually, and then it's not uncommon for them to start out, at least 1-0 or 2-0. And Josh is kind of one of those players that keeps everybody in line, and oftentimes he's the one that goes out there and gets the point on the board for Team Europe and turns things around. Yeah. I think just in a general sense, I mean, this puts more pressure on, I think, Jason. And obviously, Jason being the captain, he's going to have a little bit more pressure on him anyways. But I think this adds even more that he's not going to have that person that you can throw out there as easily and turn things around basically as a default just because of how talented Josh is. I think it puts a lot of more pressure on Europe, especially if they jump out a little bit slow. What do you think, Pancake?
We always, it seems the team match, we always usually come out pretty strong. Last year, obviously, Shane had those 2 blunders, with the 7 ball and then the 9 ball, missing that 9 ball. And that set the tone. And it seemed like after that matchup, he kind of just kept to himself and went down like a lonely dark hole and, never really seemed like part of the team. You saw Federer and Sky trying to rally the troops and get everybody kind of amped up. And, Shane is a great player, but I don't see him as the rally guy, of course, when he makes the game-winning shot, you see his reaction, but he's not that way all the time.
Well, everybody can be happy in good times, right?
I also think Josh was just such a mental issue for USA because he's such a bad matchup for Shane. Let's just say there's like everybody has like their mental thorn, you know what I mean? And Josh being the best player on Team Europe and Shane being the best guy on USA, I think there was a lot of like, how do you navigate around to where you don't have Shane matching up really against Josh? Even though last year Shane ended up having to play Josh and he thumped him, he finally went out there and played perfect.
And you heard his interview afterwards where he was saying how he was just so happy to beat Josh Filler.
That's right. And so
forget about the team. I'm happy I beat Josh Filler. Good for you. We're down 11-2.
That's right. So I feel like that chip being off the board, I think Shane matches up favorably against the rest of Team Europe now. And now Shane can operate in that hammer position where he's like effectively the guy who you can go out there and just drop the hammer on a lot of players. And there's less of that fear. And so it gives you more flexibility. And I think it lowers the tension on the American side as far as like, how do we navigate this issue just because Josh was present? That him not being there is huge because Shane settles in and he's going to play his best game likely. And I think the rest of the team's going to go out there. Federer's going to play impeccable. And you don't have to worry so much about this guy who's just going to play 95% of
with a favorable crowd too.
Yeah. And you're going to have the home team. I think Europe's in a really tough spot. I have not seen yet Team Europe gel as a team when Kachi's been on the roster. And I think his personality is such a stonewall personality, which it's such a value add for him as a singles player. But it just seems like he's just a brick wall that you can't really connect through. And I haven't seen them figure that out.
The best you could do is drag him along, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen him, show up in a way that shows me really strong teamwork. And Jason, I don't think has figured that part out because his personality is so opposite to Jason, and I don't really think Kachi cares. I think Kachi thinks he can beat anybody in the world, and whatever, you guys figure it out type of thing. But in a team setting, that's kind of a terrible approach to have. You have to come to the table and really bring guys together. Jason does a really great job of that, which is why he's so good for the Cup. But I think Kachi, to me, has been, the few times he's been on the roster, we've seen poor performances from Team Europe around him. But they've had guys like Josh who can carry through and makes it not a big deal. But we saw in Reyes Cup, Josh not there.
Well, and Albin too. Remember, Albin
is super steady.
Big on that.
Albin's super steady and like just so resolute in that environment, and he didn't qualify. And you lose 2 really team-oriented guys who, like, Albin's great because he'll do whatever. He has no ego in that environment, and he just goes out there and performs super consistently, and executes high level stuff. And he puts a lot of pressure on you just because he's so consistent. And in that short race format, you need somebody who's not going to lose their cue ball or swing their ball around and do all this crazy stuff, and will do whatever is necessary. So he doesn't really care about MVP. He just wants to win. So I think, and then you also throw in the fact that you have Mickey, who I think will play well, because I think he played pretty well in Reyes Cup.
I thought he played best on Team Europe.
Yeah, I think just a couple matches didn't go their way, but this is also like he's going to feel it too, going out there, and he's going to
He didn't have to deal with the crowd. There was no crowd in Asia.
There
was no crowd.
The Asians are super polite, and they're respectful, and which is nice, but I mean, they're going to get chewed up. And I think the crowd's going to have a big impact in Orlando. Lots of people there, obviously, who are going to be supporting Team USA. And the energy was nuts 2 years ago in Vegas. And this crowd is going to be bigger and probably more USA-centric. I think you're really in a bad spot. I think they're in a bad spot.
Did you see Dell Sim about the no Joshua Filler chant after America wins Iraq? That's going to be classic. If that
no Joshua Filler.
They're going to get roasted. They're going to get roasted. It's going to be so fun.
Absolutely perfect.
It's going to be fun. The first ball Kachi misses, we're going to do the "You should retire" chant, because he said that if he misses a ball in Orlando, he's going to retire from pool. So time to retire.
Well, he wants to play for it all. I think that's a good idea. I think America take advantage of that and say, yes,
absolutely.
Well, there's a real argument that you can make that the two best players between the 10 are on Team USA, and certainly you could make an argument 3 of the top 5.
Absolutely.
Especially when you talk about form. I mean, the last time we saw Eklund Kachi, we saw him not make the final 64 in Hanoi. We saw him, I believe he went straight to the Qatar Open, the one at Jason Shaw's room, right after the World Pool Championships, and he didn't make the final 16 there, and then we didn't see him until the Reyes Cup. And I don't want to say he played bad, but he certainly didn't look like Eklund Kachi.
Yeah.
Or at least the last Eklund Kachi that we saw. So, I mean, the top 3 players in any sort of order, if they're all in form, is Shane Eklund and Fedor, right? And if Eklund's not in form, I mean, you're talking about the top 2 players. I mean, how far down is Eklund going to fall? Because the way that everyone's form is right now, I mean, who's the third best player you think between the 2? David, Sky? I mean, Sky's looked pretty nice the last few events he's played in. There's a outside argument you can make the top 3 players are U.S., and certainly you can make the argument the top 2 are the U.S.
Jason's playing great. He's going to play great in that event. I think he scored a third of Europe's points on the last day.
Yeah, yep.
They put him up back to back. Otherwise, it would have been just total bloodbath. But I mean, Europe has great players, right? But now they're in a position where they got to restructure this team dynamic, and they don't have the time to really do it. And I don't think they have the right players to build it as effectively without that time. Like if you had Albin, let's say in Kachi's spot, then I think it's a big difference, right? Yeah. Or Josh in Kachi's spot, but Kachi earned his place. He had that great finish at the Worlds and basically locked it up, and could take a few months off basically.
I think the 5 of Team Europe needs to get with Aaron Rodgers, and they need to go on a wilderness retreat for about 3 days of darkness.
They need to be sitting in the sauna for 7 days, holding hands, and playing like
in the dark,
and just
listening to Enya.
Maybe big spoon, small spoon, all the way through. Figure out the orientation and just pray. I guess I really don't know what else to say for them. They're gonna get roasted, I think.
I just pictured that. I didn't like it.
Well, yeah.
Ironically, Mickey Krause was the big spoon. In my vision, Mickey Krause was the end.
The pearls really shark me. I think that's little spoon energy for me, and so I have no idea what to make of it.
Now remember too. I mean, I know. We're not too removed from the Reyes Cup, and the first instance of something bad happening. You can't help it as a player. It's gonna come into their minds again because whenever you coming off a loss, if you don't come back stronger, it's just it could creep into your mind and it could go the other way.
Yeah.
And the match room all of a sudden will be shortening the days so that they go the full 4 days
Right.
to get all the
Well,
tickets, but America's going to be on the other side of it. So
Yeah.
this is where we need a European. So I'll channel my inner Telfer, and I'll say everything that you guys are saying is 110% correct. However, if for whatever reason it doesn't go that way and Europe comes out and wins the first 3, and now US is starting to think, oh shit, even without Josh and even without, Albin out there, and everything is lined up perfectly for us to just come out and dominate this, we're still down in a whole 0-3. I think Shane is starting to think Lake thoughts. Whoever our 5th player is starts getting the whole doubts of, well, should I have been picked? And I think it could.
Yeah,
If this isn't set up perfectly for US to dominate, I don't know what is, or at least have some success.
Yeah, the Mosconi Cup's definitely a boiler room. You know what I mean? And those negative thoughts are going to be there when you face adversity. Inevitably, both teams are going to face adversity. I just think that Team USA is probably built better to collaborate and kind of hold through. Shane, if he stays engaged, that's always the X factor for Team USA.
That's you can't say. Yeah, I mean, you can't say that they're more likely to hold up to scrutiny and then say if Shane, right? Because that's where it starts and stops with US is whether
that's
or not
the one
engaged.
variable for US. I think Team Europe has 2 or 3 variables. So that's really the only thing as far as the team is concerned.
I agree with. I agree with. Yep. Yeah. That is it for the US's. But that's a big variable to control because all the other guys haven't since 2018 or 19.
Yeah. Tyler and Federer are buds. I think Federer gets along and plays doubles well with anybody because he's just so great. So you get a lot of flexibility with him as a doubles partner. We'll probably see more team matches, maybe. I think if they follow the same format as Reyes, where you have multiple team matches, and I think that benefits Team USA as well because they've performed well in teams historically the last 5-6 years. We'll see. You know what I mean?
It's going to come down to that 5th player on Team USA, and we're still waiting, and we're less than a month.
We haven't heard either one of you guys. Who's your player? Ray, you weren't on when we talked about this, I don't think. Who's your player?
No, first of all, I think it's crazy to me that we don't know yet. I would have probably just out of respect for the players involved torn the Band-Aid off right after Hanoi and said, hey, this is who I'm picking and this is where we're going. And, that's the end of it so that we could at least prepare and have some prep time.
There's no way that Sky hasn't decided. I mean, this has to be a matchroom decision on who they're waiting on. Even
if let's say matchroom wanted to wait until, let's say, this Josh announcement happened, right? And then decide from there because they had to replace a roster. Maybe that's the case. Internally, I would have definitely said yes to one guy and no to another guy and gone forward with my prep time. I think it's probably going to be Billy that he picks just because that's his guy and you want to go to war with your guy, and I get that. But like, I don't know, Pancake, you've probably talked to some of the guys. Do you have any intel whether or not there's a confirmation?
I've talked to all of them. Sky obviously won't say anything. Billy has not heard anything. Oscar has not heard anything. I've talked to all 3 of them. I think it is unfair for the player who gets selected because they're left with little time to do their booking, to get to Florida and be prepared to go into battle. I know this is about a show and about entertainment, and it's what Matchroom does, but, Oscar, to me, is the better player in rotation. Billy is the better player as far as team camaraderie goes. So, I mean, I've heard it from all directions. I think Oscar put in a lot more time, went to more events, paid a lot more money. Definitely earned his right to be on the team.
Sure.
He definitely played a lot tougher opponents throughout all his matchups, with a lot of big wins over people on Team Europe. So,
and Team Asia.
Yes, there's that aspect of it there, but there's also that Billy and Sky factor. You put them 2 on the doubles, and it changes the game, kind of like what Europe is going to have with Fran and Alcady now. So,
but they got cooked.
They've historically been losing. They've lost, I think, the last
match. Yeah,
at least the last 2 or 3.
Well, I hope they keep it up.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's I think Oscar on merit, if you just look at it on paper, is the guy you pick. He's playing more consistent.
All right, you guys got to pick a damn person. Quick, go back and forth. Come on, who's being picked, Ray? Who is going to be picked?
Think I said I think Sky's going to pick Billy. Yeah.
Pancake, who are you picking?
I would say right now it's 60-40 in favor of Billy.
Yeah.
I'm picking BJ Ouschan.
I'd love BJ to be on the team. He's fucking grinder.
He should play for Team Europe. They could put him in Josh's spot.
Yeah. No. That's an American boy. North Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any sort of situation.
Okay, I'm gonna reply here to Stephen Fair because I see this in the comments. So I want this to be something that, like, on this forum and every forum.
It is very disrespectful to think that Dennis Hatch
forever. No. It's not. I don't care about who the name is, but the rubric, the standard for who gets selected on Team USA is you have to have a World 9-Ball Tour card. You have to be a touring pro on the World 9-Ball Tour in the top 128 with a card, and that makes you eligible. People like Dennis.
The only person on that list is
Bergman,
Jonathan Hennessy, I think, right?
Yeah. Hennessy is on the list. He is a World 9-Ball Tour pro, so he could be picked. But
Bergman and Dennis Hatch cannot be.
Please stop saying anybody else who's not on. If you don't know who the 18 guys are that are on the list, then go to the World 9-Ball Tour page and figure out who the Americans are, and then those are the people you can pick from. Bergman is not eligible. I'd love 1978 Buddy Hall to be the fifth player, but he's also not eligible. 1992 Mike Siegel, not eligible. So can we just put it to rest with the people who are not World 9-Ball Tour players? When people make those comments, it makes me think they don't, like, nobody's been paying attention at all year. It's like these guys are out here grinding and doing it for a reason.
Lassiter on the list?
Lassiter's on the list, absolutely.
We can get him in. All right, so he's a nice player. We could try him.
Yeah,
he might struggle with the 4-inch pockets though. I think when he was playing, I think they were about 5.5 inches.
Lassiter would roast 90% of the traveling players, and the other ones would need to outrun the nuts to try and beat him. So,
and you see it all the time too in most of these forums. Everybody's talking about Bergman, how Bergman's the.
It's like people like go read a book, go online, figure out. Like we've been doing this all year. We say it every time.
The same people think that Tom Brady can come out of the booth too and step in and throw 300 yards and 4 touchdowns too. He's the GOAT. What are you gonna do? He is currently the GOAT. Yes.
Yeah.
He has maybe 5 more years of that. He should enjoy it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, so you can only pick from the World 9-Ball Tour rankings. You have to be a World 9-Ball Tour player, and that's that.
Yeah. Easy game, this is.
No, that energy to you, Steven. It's just I see it all the time on every forum. Everybody always says, "Oh, pick Bergman, pick, like random picks, pick CJ White."
Bergman's been on the team before. I mean,
yeah, he's been on a team before they implemented this rule. You know what I mean?
Three times, I think.
Yeah, and I think before Sky hit his level, Bergman was the best American player in that format. Him and Justin Hall both played really great. Like Justin plays really great in that high.
You're talking outside of Shane.
Bergman played better than Shane the years that he was on the team.
Oh,
yep. In the Mosconi Cup, I'm saying in the Mosconi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just and then Sky.
If you can get Justin Hall in bed before 4 a.m., he's a very nice player.
Those are other issues, that's captaincy issues. Like you're hurting cats. I get it, but it's that's the challenge for the captain.
I've said that on the podcast. I think Justin Hall is and I say this in as nice of a way as I possibly can. Justin Hall is the biggest waste of talent the U.S. has. Him and Shane McMinn.
Yeah, Justin Hall is more talented than I think just about pretty much anybody I've seen, I think, as far as just pure talent. There's a couple guys that are also very talented, but just not as good players, but proportionate to what they're doing, very talented. And
as far as wasted potential, I think he's number 1. I think Shane McMinn's number 2.
Yeah.
In the U.S., of course.
Maybe. Shane McMinn's a bar table player.
Out of choice.
Yeah. It's crazy how there's areas of the pool world that are just strictly bar table. Like they don't do anything else. It's wild.
But that's Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin is completely bar table.
Country now, or the bar table.
Yeah.
Most money going. I mean, you look at the Alabama tournament. That thing gets crazy.
Unbelievable. Yeah, but they also stack it for their low-ranked players. It's kind of funny.
Mm.
But yeah, there was a little bit of controversy yesterday too with Albin. There was like a report that came out that Albin had some disparaging comments to say about,
Yeah, do we want to jump in? Well, let's go here. Are we done with the Josh Filler stuff? The only thing else I do want to say one other thing. I guess go ahead, Ray. I'll say when you're done.
No, I think it's unfortunate. I think like we were talking earlier. I think these dust ups that happen eventually are going to be good for pool because there's like a point of contention and then there's a resolution usually that'll come after, whether players decide to align with that or not. And it's unfortunate that Josh is caught up in this kind of like crossfire. I wonder how much of that is self-imposed. Obviously he made a statement and then kind of backtracked and then ultimately probably behaved in a way online that Matchroom felt was bad to the brand, and so they didn't want to reward him, with invitational events. If this translates to his pro status or not, I don't know. It's yet to be seen. We're going to see what the calendar happens and how they kind of move forward with that. I think a lot of these things are in flux. Ultimately, I'd love to see the players have more autonomy, more control. The same reason, WPA has effectively banned over 200 players. Bethany Sykes is banned apparently from playing WPA events, and she went to Hanoi. It's like, come on,
those John
Francisco barred, even though he's got the best shoe game in pool. I mean, it's just rough, and so it's like, to me, it's silly. I think it puts the pressure on both organizations, Matchroom and WPA, to like actually put money into the game. I think Matchroom's going the route of trying to market the game and make it presentable and then try and bring outside cash that way. And then WPA is going the way of just trying to get organizations and federations to put up money. But there's still not any real money for the game at large. A lot of these guys are footing crazy bills to try and get there and break through. And people that are on the come up, let's say people who are in my speed, the 700 to 750 that want to get to that next level, it takes a lot of dues to be paid over and over and over again to have results where you settle in and it clicks for you. Like, Mickey is a great example. He paid his dues, and then boom, it clicked for him. Fran is a great example. A few years ago, 6-7 years of probably paying his dues, and then all of a sudden it snapped and he's like, winning everything. And it's kind of the way it goes. But a lot of guys run out of steam because they don't have the backing financially and they can't afford it. So they got to juggle other things, you know what I mean, to be able to pursue this, because it doesn't make sense financially. Right. But the guys that do it aren't really doing it. I think it's like a sick pride, just internal drive thing that gets you there. Yep. So I think that both organizations have an opportunity to add actual money and value to the players. And until that happens, then there's just going to be jockeying over, small details until.
Speaking of over small details, Stephen Wyatt, I think we were talking about Justin Bergman. He said he was on the winning team back in 2018. He was not on the winning team in 2018. He was on the winning team in 2019. Corey Deuel's on 2018, if I'm not mistaken. That was the swap that was made. Was Corey Deuel was in 2018, and then he was off the team in 2019 for Bergman. But anyways, I mean, Pancake, what's your thought on it?
I mean, I know Josh outside of the pool arena. When he plays and when he competes, I understand how people have issues with some of the things that he does. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think that when the statement came out, I think that statement was rushed. I think it was influenced by other people.
Sure.
The simple fact that, some of the players who are not in, let's say, the top 16 on the WNT having an issue with him doing what he did kind of isn't relevant, because right now, the way it's set up, only the top really 16 players for the WNT is going to be able to make a comfortable living. So I think you're going to see many players go the WPA route more and more, because the money is going to run out and they're going to need backup. They're going to need help from their federations to be able to compete. I think everybody who knows, as far as like being a pool player, it never leaves you. So you're constantly going to want to keep at it, especially if you're playing at such a high level. You need places to go and play, but if you can't afford it, what are you supposed to do? I think Josh getting the treatment he's getting online is kind of messed up. But as you know, you wouldn't be as good as he is without the haters. And people are looking to hate, so they're pinpointing these things. I think what needs to happen is, Josh really needs to sit down with Matchroom. I mean, I'm hoping for
it's already happened.
A resolution on both ends, whether it's the
that conversation has already happened. That's why Josh is out of the Mosconi Cup.
I understand that, but there has going forward is the reason why Josh isn't in the Mosconi Cup because Matchroom doesn't want him there, or is it because the players don't want him there? Because I don't think it's really Matchroom per se, as much as it is the players who feel, I guess, slighted by the statement and him going against it. But the only one who pays Josh's bills is Josh.
Yeah. So, and he's going to have his bills covered if he's just, let's say, WPA guy. He's going to go snap off the Qatar, China,
He can win any event at any given time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such a a big topic, is because he's the guy. You wouldn't worry about the 118th player on the list going to the.
It would be hilarious for him. It would be hilarious for him to drop his WNT card and then enter every event as a wild card or as a qualifier and still snap it off and just crush people.
Well, you can only play in 2 of them.
The ultimate power move. I think it'd be hilarious.
But you can only play in 2.
Yeah, he can play in 2. He can play in.
You can only play in 2 Matchroom events. Matchroom main events.
Right.
With So that's
right. And then the World 9-ball.
He wouldn't get. The WPA would give him a spot probably.
Yeah, they would give him a spot for sure.
They'd probably give him a spot just to spite Matchroom.
Right, of course. Yeah, no, that becomes the whole game. 100%.
Yeah.
But he's not guaranteed to win everything too. There's a lot of great players on either side. Right. But I think
realistically speaking, what has he won in the last couple of years?
Bro, he snapped.
He's won a few.
He snapped off the World 8-ball, the Qatar Open.
No. I'm talking about Matchroom events solely. I think he won the European Open 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough action even for him.
Yeah, the brutal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's brutal. He's had his fair share of success in WPA events. I say WPA events, but what I really mean by that is just non-Matchroom events, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, fuck. He couldn't even beat me, so the guy should go practice.
He can't be that good. Yeah, can't be that good.
Right.
And it wasn't even close either, right? It was like 9-6 or something like that.
Oh, it was 9-8. I should have beat him 9-5. I dogged it. I dogged a 7-ball. I remember it was 9-2. Hand kissing babies before it was over. So,
but no, I think what you're saying is, I think what both of you guys are saying is right. My prediction is that he will not have a WNT card by the end of this year.
It kind of seems that it's going that way because we really don't have any evidence to point that things are going to go the other way, and I'm not sure if there's a middle ground right now. Thing is, he has probably an immense pressure from his German federation as well. That's something that we kind of overlook, that he's got a lot of support from federations, and he's in good standing with his German federations, obviously, because he's so successful, and they're likely going to put him in a position where he would lose that support if he didn't follow their line, and they're probably in lockstep with WPA. So it seems like, at least in the near future, we're going to see Josh sparingly on the World 9-ball tour.
And I think too.
Realistically speaking, I mean, if you look at the full calendar,
World 9-ball tour pro as well, which is interesting. Yeah.
Realistically speaking, if you look at the full tour, I think we can all pretty muchly agree that as is going forward, he will not be in any sort of invite tournaments, meaning Premier League pool, the Mosconi Cup, the Reyes Cup, the World Cup of pool, the Masters. We all pretty much are in agreement to that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what does that leave over? That leaves the Spanish Open, assuming it happens, because it didn't this year. But let's say it happens.
Probably UK Open, European Open.
The European Open, the Spanish Open, the US Open, the World 9-ball, and Hanoi. He's not going to play Hanoi, so that means he has 5 events. He will get a qualifier into the World 9-ball.
Yeah.
And then he can play 2 events as a wild card. Now he's going to have a tougher draw, but he's going to have 2 events as a wild card. So really all he's giving up, realistically speaking, is 2 events. That's all he's giving up.
That's true.
Yeah, and
he will not have a WNT card by the end of this year. That's my prediction.
And, will WPA hold him accountable for even playing World 9-Ball Tour events that they're not sanctioning? So, like, will they let him play the U.S. Open? Or will they let him play, the European Open? Maybe the European Open because it's German.
Well, I think he'd probably play the U.S. Open and the European Open. I think he'd probably take a pass on the U.K. Open and the Spanish Open.
Right.
And he's going to get a WPA invite for the World 9-Ball.
The Hanoi Open, there's 200 players that are barred now from WPA events. So would they just give him a pass to play the European Open, or are they going to also enforce that standard on him if he's their golden boy? You know what I mean?
Well, there's another thing. There's another thing that we don't know about. The reason why all the players were able to play the Matchroom events this year was because the WPA lifted the ban on those specific events. They might not be doing that next year. And if they don't do that next year, then Josh realistically is giving up 5 events.
Yeah.
I don't think that 5 events, if you have 0 chance at the Mosconi Cup, Reyes Cup, and all those other invites, I don't see why the WNT, as is currently constructed, is worth not giving up for Josh. When you're going to lose not only the World 8-Ball, 10-Ball, all the Predator events, the China Open, basically all the WPA events, and you're probably going to lose your federation. That's not worth it.
Based on their current stance, WPA, it looks like the only tournament that he would probably get access to is the World 9-Ball, because they're banning people who are playing non-WPA sanctioned events, and that's a point of contention between WPA and World 9-Ball Tour. And I don't really see them alleviating the pressure of this token they have
going forward
to give value to Matchroom's events unnecessarily. So the World 9-Ball is a WPA collaborated event, and so it makes sense that they would let him have a acquisition for that one. You know what I mean?
Do you think they would ban if people play in the U.S. Open?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Why not? I think next year. Well, the true. What is the first
bans, right? So, but it doesn't really.
What's the first WNT major on the calendar usually? Is that the UK Open? The UK Open, I think, is the first WNT major usually.
The International Open's coming up. I guess usually it's like the first event for the following.
Yeah, but that's not a WNT major.
No, I would say probably.
In fact, I'm not. I would bet that the International Open is sanctioned with the WPA still. Would be
probably,
my hunch.
Because Pat has really good relationships, and he tends to be Switzerland, and nobody really messes with Pat because that's a great guy.
So, I'm guessing the first WNT major is probably the UK Open.
I think so.
March.
Yeah.
So
March.
that would be the test.
Yeah.
To find out whether or not there's 200 players that just got banned. Is there going to be, they've wiped out basically the entire country of Vietnam. Are they going to wipe out basically the entire country of the UK next?
There's like 12.
I kind of like the $500 fee after the 6 months to get back in.
That's so great. Yeah, they're nuts. It's focused right now on Josh because Josh is the linchpin around where these people are arguing mostly, and so I don't think he did himself any favors with public posts. I think he's done a good job not posting since. I think the temptation has been there, so he took my advice.
See, well, that's where I push back on this. Is I believe. So I think Albin is. We're talking about Josh still, right?
Josh, yeah.
I think Albin is the perfect example of why you're wrong. Because if we would have heard, Albin apparently did some sort of interview with a local paper from his country, and according to Albin, I haven't spoken with Albin, but I've spoken with a few people that have spoken with Albin. Yeah. And my understanding was that the interview happened, but Albin's words were twisted completely out of context. Well,
which means you shouldn't have said anything.
No, what? Sure, but if you're
exactly,
but this comes down to my point. If you're going to say something, say it yourself through your own words.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah,
those are the two options. Keep your mouth shut completely, or if you have something to say it yourself so that nobody can twist your words.
I agree. I think you should control your brand. Michael Jordan did this really well. I think he went through some of the gambling, there was all this stuff about it. And so he pulled Ahmad Rashad and said, hey, let's just do an interview. You know what I mean? Come with me. And he had a conversation, gave his own words through a trusted source, so people could not misinterpret him and misconstrue or whatever. And then that was like, hey, this is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm just going to, I gamble because I like to gamble, but it never affects my ability to play with my team. And I show up. And he backed it up. So I think, to your point, you definitely want to control what gets said, and you don't want to be misguided or, jerked around. I think Josh was preemptive in that early on and kind of allowed himself to be influenced to say something he wasn't necessarily 100% convinced about, or had, concerns because of his federational standing and all these other things he's probably feeling now. And so, discretion, I think, is probably a good idea. And then eventually, if he needs to say something, he should publish a statement.
But you should say it through your words,
through his own page. Yeah.
Like if you want to hire a publicist to help you with your wording to make it as
exactly. You can
as easy as
and all that stuff. Yeah. And
but Albin right now is finding out what happens when you talk to somebody and expect that person to have some sort of loyalty to whatever brand you're trying to represent. Right. The paper has zero cares in the world about Albin Ouschan and what his brand is. They couldn't care less. What they want is a good story. Right. And when you rely on somebody to editorialize yourselves in the best light, you better be damn sure that you know who the person is and can trust them, because that's what happens when you don't.
Yeah, and that's why people like Panozzo have such a great record in journalism. They're long-standing journalists because they open the floor, they allow the person to talk, and they don't editorialize the conversation. And I think that's an important skill to have when you're in journalism. So
yeah, but do you guys really think that if Josh, let's just say Josh did an interview, live, put it on Facebook, where he went through, his way of thinking, that it would make anything better?
No, because he's already gotten rid of the luxury of innocent until proven guilty. I mean, he doesn't have the benefit of the doubt anymore, because not only of the personality he is, and this is the thing that, like, up until I'm like you, I have a decent relationship with Josh. I don't think that Josh has many friends out there as far as like the industry people. He has plenty of people he's friendly with, but as far as like actual like people that he would call a friend, he doesn't have many. And it's not because like he doesn't like to open up, or the dude is absolutely just quiet. He doesn't. This is a huge surprise when people like see him at the Mosconi Cup and all these events. The dude doesn't talk. Right. He likes to keep to himself. If you see him at an event, he's not out with Alex Kazakis and Dennis Graba and Mario He and Albin Ouschan out. You don't see him in these cars like loaded up with 12 people in there. The guy does his job. He goes back to his room and you don't see him anymore. You don't see him at these big gatherings with all of his friends. Like that's not the person that he is. He's very introverted off the pool table for the most part.
Right.
And that is a huge surprise to most people that don't know him very well, but it's absolutely true. So if you're only going to see the side of Josh, which is basically the crazy Mosconi Cup rubbing in the US's nose and it, stuff like that side of Josh, and he doesn't have a personality off the table like Jason Shaw, who is basically the same thing, but Jason Shaw, for the most part, is well-liked around the industry because of how great of a person and a human being he is off the table. If you don't have that other side to it, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt when something like this comes up. If Jason Shaw were to have done this, not that he ever would, but if he would have, he'd have gotten a lot more benefit of the doubt because people know the type of human being that he is off the table, and he is one of the real G's in this industry off the table. I mean, he really is a great human being for what he does for this industry. Josh is not like that. So I don't think that Josh warrants much benefit of the doubt, but even if he did, I don't think he would get it. Just my opinion. I mean, Ray, what do you have to say? And here's a link to the article. Just that thank you for getting that right. Yeah. This was the article. You're probably gonna have to translate it because I believe it's in German. You're gonna have to translate it to English or whatever language you feel like reading it in, but that's the link for the interview. I'll put it in the comments. All right, Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Josh is better served just letting the smoke kind of blow over for now and just continuing to kind of work with his sponsors and his people to figure out what the plan of attack is as these things resolve. And then once they resolve, then if he feels like making a public statement, he can. Otherwise, he can just continue to show up to tournaments and do what he does and he doesn't deserve. Nobody's really entitled to his commentary on the situation if he feels like it's unnecessary. But I feel like down the line he'll probably do something. I would do like a sit down and a photo session and curate everything and do photos or do like a video. You know what I mean? Hire somebody to shoot something and kind of like stylize it and make it what you have to say and what your goals are and stuff like that, so your fans are aware, and then just keep grinding. You know what I mean? These things will happen. It's, unfortunately, this comes with the territory of being at the top. You'd rather this just be about pool and not so much about politics. But and so in Albin's situation, maybe it's a language thing too. Maybe there's like a translation issue, translating stuff from German to English, and the meaning being lost in that. But
I know what you're saying, but it's pretty clear, I think. It's hard to say I don't want to play for a dictatorship, as assuming that is an exact quote, which from what I heard, that is not what he said.
Right.
I was told that his words were twisted into that. He said that he doesn't like what I heard was that he said basically along the lines of he doesn't like to have to be forced into decisions that are made for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally
Which is, when you say it that way, it's perfectly fine. But if somebody editorializes that into I don't want to play within a dictatorship, which realistically speaking, the differences there are almost nothing. I mean, realistically speaking, if you say I don't want to be put in a situation where somebody makes my decision for me versus I don't want to play in a dictatorship, the meaning is the exact same, but man, does it sound different. It does.
Differently, and that's part of the art of communication. I think most players just want to move in the direction of they are in charge of their personal brand, and they build their brand, and they try and find avenues that give them a platform to play and continue to build that, because that seems to be the direction that a lot of the players are going, just to secure themselves financially and make more money. And it's not really coming from the tournaments or the events. It's about engagement with fans. It's about creating avenues where they can make more sales and increase revenue. And then the playing is just basically exhibitions for them, and a chance to do fun stuff at a high stage of a lot of importance for everybody. But to me, it seems like the players are shifting in that direction anyways. And so for somebody like Albin, who's a premier player, if he feels or gets the sense that his brand is being dictated for him or limited in any way, then that's going to be uncomfortable, and I wouldn't want to be in that position either. So it's just one of those things. What can you do? He's got cleanup duty to do now as well. It's unfortunate. I don't think he'll be doing any more articles at Crone.
What he needs to do is come on to a trusted source. Albin, come on over. We'll interview you. Nah. I would never ask him to do that. But I mean, seriously speaking, I mean, Albin is to the point. I mean, I say this and I mean this. Like, if you don't want to talk, then don't talk. And if you do want to talk, then use your own voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, especially when there's a medium in between. Like, if he comes onto this podcast and we talk about it, it's his own words. I'm not construing him. No, I can be an unfair interviewer, and I can kind of make my questions out to put try to do gotcha questions, or try to put him in a situation where he's answering questions that he doesn't want to answer, or stuff like that. But I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to, is if you want to speak in an actual forum that you can control.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a big part of it. You got to control your messaging, because any misstep at that level can cost you money and friends and understanding and all that stuff. So, who knows? I'm sure it'll resolve eventually. There's people have done way worse, in pool, and still been given opportunities to compete. So.
Yeah,
well, so just a
cheated.
Go ahead.
Of anything, like that's the whole thing. They're treating him as if he's one of the worst people in the industry, and he's not.
We're talking Albin or Josh?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, that neither of them did anything malicious. There was no malicious intent behind either of their situations.
Right.
Well, the argument that you could make, and I haven't made this in the past, because I know Josh decently well, and Josh is out for Josh. Like when he made the post, stating loyalty to the WNT and his fellow players, like I looked at that with a side eye, like that doesn't seem right. But if it is right, WPA is in a lot of freaking trouble if that's the case. And well, I mean, he went back on it and then made a bunch of excuses as to why he went back on it that weren't his fault. And I mean, that's why when we were talking about this in the beginning, I had no problem with what Albin did. Albin made a mistake and he manned up and apologized for it and said why he was wrong and why he felt that way in the moment and doesn't now. Josh just doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on it. Aaron Lake asks the question, what if Josh or Albin intentionally play a non-sanctioned WNT event and gets banned by the WPA? Would people welcome them back to the WNT circuit?
Well, if they would do that, they would understand that the repercussions from the WPA. So it would be a voluntary decision for them to disassociate themselves from WPA. And I'm sure at that point, Matchroom would be great, would be fine. They would receive them. I assume. I don't know if there's relational damage that's happened. Let's say, again, I point to Jason. Jason's to me, I feel has the most influence amongst the players at the World 9-Ball Tour with Matchroom. And he would have to have a green light, let's say, you know what I mean? So who knows if Josh would have to do the walk of shame or, would have to cook everybody dinner or, do some kind of hazing ritual to get him back in. I don't know what the deal is. Okay.
You got to give everybody a game on the wire.
That's right. Yeah. Josh, you can play, but you give everybody a game on the wire. No problem. That's okay. You need it. So who knows? But again, we don't know the inner conversations and if there's been bridges burned as well in this process. You know what I mean? So
well, here's one more situation on my thoughts with the Albin comments. Let's take them at face value. This crone face value that he did say that WNT is a dictatorship and he doesn't like that. Yeah. I would venture to guess that if you gave him truth serum, and I would venture to guess that if you gave every single player truth serum, basically the players are thinking the WPA and Matchroom are acting in about the same exact manner. They're both trying to gain control. They're both trying to leverage whatever sort of power that they have, and they're both trying to be right in this pissing war that they're in right now. I don't think
predator players. I find it interesting as well.
Sorry?
I also find it interesting that both Josh and Albin are both Predator sponsored players.
Sure. But there are a bunch more Predator players, but there's a lot of other Predator players that are mysteriously quiet, like a Dennis Graba, for example. He wasn't playing in Hanoi, was he?
No.
See, that's how quiet it is. I didn't even know if he was there or not. I don't think he played Hanoi Open. But he was at New Zealand, right? He was at New Zealand playing. When it comes down to it, I think both sides are acting in a very similar way. The difference is the WPA is shoving their foot into their own mouth every single possible chance that they get by saying stupid statements or going on for an interview with windows open and telling Americans they're too stupid to understand what a federation could do for a player. They've just every step of the way, they've gone and just inserted foot deeper and deeper into the mouth, where Matchroom just keeps quiet and just keeps chugging along and keeps putting the work in and keeps growing the industry and keeps making new connections, keeps, making new events. And I mean, that's why I'm ultimately, team Matchroom in this entire thing. But I don't think that either one of the sides are, blameless. And I think that if you asked Albin if he thinks the WPA is acting like a dictatorship, he'd say yes to that too.
Yeah.
They just happened to be talking about the Mosconi Cup, and he just happened to be talking about Matchroom in that moment. But guaranteed you, not only would Albin probably say that, 85 to 95% of the players would say the same damn thing. So we hate on Albin because that's his words were twisted and made the light of day. But I mean, Pancake, you and I and Ray we're all pretty plugged into this industry. How many times have you had conversations with players that sounded a lot like that?
Oh yeah, of course. I think
it's not a unique thought.
when we hear these interviews, and you hear a lot from Emily, with Molina when he does his interviews with her and stuff, and you constantly hear from Matchroom how much they care about the players, and it's nice to hear. But I mean, I don't think either organization truly cares about what the players are doing. They care about the bottom line. And in this industry, greed cannot happen yet because there's not enough money for it. So if they would have sat down with the WPA and really came to an agreement to where everybody can play pool wherever the hell they want and make as much money as possible, get sponsorship, things can be done. But they're just they just the people in charge are just, the greed level is just too high, and they just want to corner the market. They want it all for themselves, and I think it's just going to continually hurt the players more and more, even though they say they care about them, at the utmost, which is not.
I'll say this in defense of Matchroom is a promotion company. They are trying to build this industry, and they are working off of a bottom line. Now they might be working with a multi-billion-dollar company. That's up for debate, but certainly a multi-million-dollar company.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they are willing to just burn money and light money on fire over and over and over again. And to be fair to Matchroom, there is probably one event that they do every year that basically budgets their entire year, and that is like the Mosconi Cup. The rest, if they're making money, it's not a lot, and most of them are just absolutely just piling up money and starting it on fire. So to be fair to Matchroom, their bottom line has to be money, because that's what they do. And we had this little discussion in our private group yesterday, and I just think that it's fair to at least state that Matchroom is not exactly making hand over fist money. So
Right.
for them to share it with the players, there's not exactly like something that they could just straight out go and do.
I think they're building the product and the platform, which they're successful at. I think they have somebody like Emily who's really focused on just getting more and more of those events together and giving a structure and the whole thing that is like foundational, right? This is like at the atomic level, you need these little pieces in place. I think there should be somebody in parallel that's working with Emily that has a similar vision and mindset, that's just focused on accruing deals, and getting sponsorship money into the sport, because they have enough of the branding to present a product that, if they can get an actual sponsor on board for the tour and increase the amount of value that they're adding.
And the long-term one too, because they've had a couple like short-term ones. They need a long-term one.
They need like a multi-year, like tour sponsor that's going to help build prize pools, because it's expensive. Even somebody who is doing it part-time can easily spend 20 grand, 20, 30 grand in a year, no problem. You know what I mean? Trying to chase and earn points and earn a ranking and like do all that stuff. Like it's a lot of money that you can spend trying to travel the world and pursue this, thing that really is at current value. You're not like golf where, somebody who's like a 700 Fargo is doing well in golf. You know what I mean? You got to be,
you're riding your buddy's couch.
Yeah. Think about the tournament in Saudi Arabia. I mean, how much did it cost for the players to get over there? If you didn't get,
well, let's talk about. No, you're right. But let's look at it from a Matchroom perspective too, because to be fair to them, we're talking about the players. The players are individual players, right? I mean, maybe Josh and Pia type of, or Fedor and Christina. Maybe there's two people going to an event, but for the most part, you're talking a single person. It might take $5,000, all said in expenses, to get to the Saudi Arabia to play the World 9-ball. But Matchroom has probably 15 to 20 people that they have to have for staff on there.
Right.
You're talking about 15 people's, let's just say it's 15. You're talking about 15 flights. You're talking about 15 rooms. You're talking about 15 times 3 meals per day. I mean, you're talking about like, and don't get me wrong, obviously Matchroom is making money on this too, but like you're talking about a lot of expenses when you start talking about a team of 10 to 15 to 20 people per event. And they got, they're a business. They got to make money. The WPA is not a business. The WPA's job is not the job. The job of the WPA is to police the industry, which you could make an argument whether or not they do an effective job at it when Carlo Beato still hasn't been paid out for, a tournament that was WPA sanctioned that he won. That's their sole job. Now they need money to do that too. So don't get me wrong. I mean, there's got to be some money coming to the WPA too, but their job is to not make money. Their job is to police the industry.
Right.
Tasheen asks if Federer and Shane are playing the Qatar World Championships. They're both barred. So
Yeah, guaranteed no.
Yeah.
Also, somebody said Frowny the Game Cat. I like that name. That's a cool name. Isn't Tyler Steyer sponsored by Predator? Tyler is no longer sponsored by Predator. I believe he left earlier maybe March or April this year.
He announced that he's not going to renew his contract. So when his contract
Correct.
lapses, he's currently shopping for new sponsors. Yeah.
I believe that already has lapsed, hasn't it?
Probably, or close to it, but he's going to definitely play the Mosconi with his current gear and then switch after.
Yep.
So.
But no, he is no longer if he is with Predator, he's not for long.
I'm getting my custom bald eagle suit ironed for the Mosconi Cup. I have a small farming agency that's going to bring in some alligators that I can drop into the Team Europe practice table. So I'm getting ready to do my part for America, and especially for Florida. So I don't know what you guys are doing, but
I'll try to get Mickey Krause to go out drinking with me one night.
Subvert from within. There you go.
Yeah. I feel like Mickey Krause would actually be quite fun to drink with. I don't know if he drinks. I don't know if I've ever seen him drink.
Probably not.
Oh. Mickey's a good dude, though. Mickey is a good.
Oh,
dude.
Mickey is. Yeah. If you'd have told me that the person that Mickey Krause has become was the person, if you'd have told me Mickey Krause right now was going to be the person he became 5 years ago, I'd have told you you're smoking crack.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I only looked at that dude as like a European journeyman type of, maybe he'll get like a quarterfinals here and there, but for the most part, he's just going to be, plugging entry fees and wasting his time. And the person that not only he's matured into, but the player that the player he's become and the man he's become, he's a good dude. Yeah. He's a really good dude. Like through and through.
Not on a date. Jeez Louise. My God.
I want to.
It's always the same thing with you.
I want to. It's the Viking hair, it just does it for me.
European sympathizer all the time.
Well, there's nobody on the American side that's anywhere close to the quality of players and people.
The bone structure? Is that what you're saying? Is it the bone structure for you? Is it the long hair, the ponytail, the beads? Is it the pearls?
Beads. That's the beads.
Yeah.
It's the beads and the what is this? What's this sheep stomach called? What is that? That haggis. It's the haggis. That's it.
Del Sim eats haggis for breakfast, but Mickey has never had haggis in his life. I guarantee you.
Fun stuff. Okay, Eklund Kachi suggests that Team Europe and Team USA should play for it all.
Yeah, he's got no shot. So have a nice day.
So I mean, Ray, you got to put. You're a U.S. homer through and through. Who wins the Mosconi Cup right now?
I think
What's your prediction for right now?
I think Team USA is probably going to win 11-7, 11-6, 11-7, somewhere there.
So, what was the final of the
Hanoi?
Reyes Cup? The Reyes Cup is 11-5, 4,
6.
6. Yeah, 6. Yeah. Because my prediction was 11-7 Team Asia.
Shaw won 2 matches at the end. Cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 10-4 when I turned it off, I think. And you're so cuddly. This is the only good content people get out of here.
That's right.
That's what Jim says. Jim says if it wasn't for Cat Butthole, this podcast would have 0 followers.
Yeah, well, Jim would know. So,
Pancake, what's your prediction as of right now without knowing Teams 5? Although I think everybody in the world knows who the 5th player for Team Europe is. I mean, that's going to be 0 surprise.
I think it'll be 11-5 USA.
Wow. I like it. Big beatdown.
The hammer's coming, baby.
I think it's about time. Europe's on that end of the spectrum there, and I hope Jim enjoys his time down there when he's watching it, because it's gonna be. I want still shots of his face every time.
Just the life slowly leaving his eyes. Trying to remember, that'd be great.
Yeah, to be honest, Europe, obviously, they're still all great players, and they are just races to 5. But I think this whole situation, you saw a little bit in the Reyes Cup. Now, obviously, Team Asia is amazing and probably better than either of the teams, between Europe or the USA. But I just think that we kind of smell blood in the water now, and we're gonna take them out.
So for your theory to work, there has to be somebody on Team Europe then that is going to not be able to handle the pressure of this entire situation. Who do you see on Team Europe then being the one that's folding?
I actually see a couple players actually. I think
For 11-5, I think you'd have to.
I think Jason and FSR will be the most steady players.
FSR not yet announced.
Right,
but I think everybody knows it's going to be FSR.
He has to be the fifth pick.
I mean, the only other person it could have been theoretically would have been Albin, and I think we found out that that's not going to happen at this point.
Right. I think those two will be the most consistent players, and I think that I think Mickey is going to struggle because I think the crowd is really going to get on him, and I just think the Reyes Cup to me just wasn't enough pressure on him, where this will be crazy, and it's going to be very, very fun to watch. I think Alcady, he's had some good runs in the cup, some good matches, but I've also seen him struggle a lot. I think he will struggle too because, I mean, there's pressure. You're replacing Josh Filler, in an event, and you can't help but take that burden on your shoulders. So I think the pressure will get to him, and I think Hachi, great player. I think more of a singles guy, not really the team variety. And I think that just, I always think the shot clock gets to him. He's usually a slower type player, and I just think that he's had his moments where you can't believe he missed the ball. And we saw that in the Hanoi Open too. I think it was his first or second match. He had almost a straight in 9-ball, and he just jarred it. To me, he's not.
Can I remind you of the 7-ball that Shane missed last year?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, obviously,
because that 7-ball was a pretty tough one to miss.
Yes, Shane. If Shane can just play like Shane, don't worry about anybody else. Just keep him. Put him on the couch by himself, like he likes to sit, and just feed him berries or something. Just keep him happy. Maybe we'll be able to fulfill it. But I mean, you have Federer,
like Trout
guy. Tyler worries me only because of last year. Some of the decisions he made, even though we were down, quite a bit.
His shot selection, he was definitely trying to play hero ball.
Yes. So
the 4-railer that he played was.
Yeah. So hopefully. As long as the main three guys, Shane, Sky, and Federer, show up, I really don't see Europe contending. That's just me.
I think I mean this has nothing to do necessarily with Oscar, because I think that Oscar is a better player than Billy by far. Maybe not by far, but
rotation.
Healthy, yeah. A healthy distance. I think if they pick Oscar, I think Team USA loses 11-9. And I think if Billy is picked, I think USA wins 11-9.
Wow.
I think that Billy's energy, with more so than the absence of energy from Joshua Filler, is going to create that void of who's going to have the most energy. And it's tough to play against people that are hyped. I mean, it really is. I mean, we've all played enough team events kind of in our amateur days. Maybe it's been a hot second for you, Ray, but I'm sure growing up you've played a lot of team events where, even if you'll have that one team that it's like, they're just overly excited about every single win, and they may even be losing the match, but if they have enough energy, that just seems to wear on the team that doesn't carry that. And it's tough to fade against that. It's tough to fade against a team that's overly hyped. And I think without Josh there, and the crowd with the wind at our back with that one, I think that's going to give us the difference there with Billy's energy and the crowd. But I just don't think it's a blowout. I don't see any situation where the U.S. ends up in a blowout. I mean, unless Eklund literally just comes in off the beach and decides that he's not going to play any pool at all. But I have to assume that all players are going to be coming in firing.
You would think after the Reyes Cup, they're doing a little more work on the table.
Well, I would think that Jason's good for 4 points by himself.
I have inside intelligence that Jason and the team will be in Jacksonville preparing at the. There's a place called the Billiard Factory, I think it is, in Jacksonville. They have a restaurant table over there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Eric Dishis owns that place.
Yeah. So
great pool room. It's not a pool room. It's a billiard warehouse.
Yeah. Remind me to leave some bags of poop on their front doorstep the day they arrive. It's a welcoming gift. Yeah, no word yet on intelligence, what's going to happen with Team USA. I have access to a private restaurant table for them if they need it in that same area, if it's convenient. But besides that, I just think red, white, and blue is back. And I think we're going to bring the hammer. I'm looking for the guys to all perform well. I'm not really worried about Tyler. I think Tyler's playing his best pool of his life, and he's not in a position where he has to do too much. I think Federer's probably going to be playing the best pool, post switch, leaving QTech. And I think he's found his groove. He's obviously the world champion. Shane is, generational player. If he shows up, Skylar shows up. I think Sky's playing really solid. He had a nice surge at the end, almost overtook Tyler, playing a lot less events. So he's just showing how good he is as a player, even late. And then that fifth guy has just got to show up and win 1 or 2 points. You know what I mean? So whoever that guy is, if they can convert 1 or 2 points, then they've done their job. They've earned their spot.
No, they have that tournament in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Actually in 5 days, where it's going to be Josh, Federer, and Carlo playing for, I think it's 33,000 is in that. So the winner gets it all. So they have that challenge tournament over there, I guess. Sponsored, and they have the mixed doubles is over there too. So that should be interesting because you're going to have.
And it's nice to see Predator back doing stuff that's not necessarily WPA tied, because I think they have an avenue to also do events and maybe open up opportunities for players to compete that's not necessarily married to WPA, so that you get to see these players still have a landing ground and kind of get to compete against one another, even if it's not 9-ball, it's other disciplines. But yeah, there's pool to be played, so we'll see.
Sure. All right. Well, I think we're good at that point in time. You guys, anything else you guys want to push?
Just freedom and independence in this amazing country we have named America.
Get out and vote.
That's right.
That's
today.
I already wrote in pancake.
Of course. It's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
He'll balance that budget like this to get it done.
I'll definitely let it ride.
All right.
That's
well, with that,
on black. It's good.
always.
With that, I'll close it out for this week. But first, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors that allow us to continue doing the podcast. Jacoby Custom Cues. Thank you so much for your continued support. The cool Jacoby blackout. Great break use. We'll also give a shout out to Insight Performance Coaching, Billiards Digest, Salado, Digital Pool, Onboard Sportswear, Horo Tips, and Littman Lights. Pancake, thanks for joining us. Your first show. How'd it go?
Thanks for having me. No, I enjoyed it. I like debating, and especially on a topic that we're all interested in. So that's a good thing.
Darts.
Darts. We'll
All
play.
right.
We'll play cricket when I see you next meet.
Let's do it.
All right.
I never need a reason to play darts. Ray, thanks again for joining us, and thanks everybody for tuning in the chat and participating. It's always a pleasure being able to interact with the people